Now that we installed Windows on our new PC, should we turn on the internet?
Hi guys, I'm Paul, this is Diane. We are the PC zombies that no, do not turn on the internet yet until you watch this video. There are 4 or 5 things that are real important that you should consider before you turn on the internet after you install Windows. And if you don't do these things, you could easily degrade your SSD performance, lock yourself out of some of your storage, and even install bloatware you don't want.
We'll show you how we avoided these traps on our new rig.
So let's get to it, Di.
I'm ready. Wait, we installed 4 SSDs, yet I only see 1 drive on your PC.
They're there, they're just in an unallocated state.
Oh.
But before we fix those, I want to show you another very similar problem that if you need to do it, you have to do it very quickly. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
All right.
Open up the Explorer and select this PC so you can see the system SSD, which is the C drive. This volume was just created by Windows Installer and it encompasses the entire SSD. If you happen to want to partition this into 2 volumes like we do, you'll need to shrink the C drive first right now while the system is fresh.
Why right now?
Because the longer you run Windows, the more Windows can create unmovable files like a page file, a hibernation file, or a system restore point across the drive. Windows will absolutely refuse to shrink a volume past an unmovable file. So we are going to shrink this volume now before those files get scattered. In our case, we bought a 2 terabyte drive, but we only need 300 gigabytes for the system and apps. I'd like a separate volume with its own drive letter for the other 1.6 terabytes that I can use for special uses.
Me too.
Here, let me show you what I mean. Right-click on the Windows icon and select Disk Management. Because we have new SSDs in the PC, it will ask you to initialize them. Go ahead and do it, but make sure you've selected GPT, which is the best for modern drives. Then select OK, initialize those drives. Now look here, those other SSDs show up here as unallocated in the list. But since they are not formatted, they don't appear yet in the Windows Explorer. Since I know I'm going to partition the system SSD, I should do that first, even before formatting those other SSDs. Because in order to partition the system SSD, you must shrink it first. The Disk Management tool absolutely refuses to shrink a volume past an unmovable file. If a builder waits even a week to partition this drive, they will find that they can only shrink it by a few gigabytes. In our case, the system volume is the C volume. Right-click on it and select Shrink Volume. This allows you to shrink it down to the smallest size that still encapsulates all the files on it. And what's left over, which is the amount you shrink the volume by, can be used for a new volume. This shrink dialog is tricky, however, as it wants to know how much to reduce the size by, and the next field shows what the size will actually be after it's reduced. Also, it reports all sizes in megabytes. So I tell it to take 1.6 terabytes off the drive, which is 1,600,000 megabytes, leaving around 300 gigabytes for system and apps.
That should leave plenty of room for future growth.
Yep, so I press shrink and poof, there's a new block about 1.6 terabytes big that I can now format as another volume. Now, Di, we can format those other SSDs plus that 1.4 terabyte volume that we just created. To make a volume, you must right-click on an unallocated block and select New Simple Volume. Hit Next again to take the default maximum disk space for the drive, or set a smaller number if you want to make multiple drives there. Set the drive letter and hit Next. Take the default formatting option as NTFS with the allocation unit size set to default. Type in a label if you want and then hit Next and then Finish.
And then that SSD comes online as a new volume.
That's right. And I'm going to repeat that process for all the data drives. And now, if you look in the Explorer, you can see that all of my drives are ready to go.
That's an impressive amount of storage, especially at today's prices.
I'm kind of spoiled. You know, maybe I'll start my own cloud business.
Look at this cool flash drive we got from ASUS. Do you think it'll install drivers for us?
You're smart to think about installing drivers before hooking up the internet, and don't hook up the internet, please. We're going to talk about that in the next video. And I'll show some troubleshooting tips as well while you're installing the drivers. In fact, one of the troubleshooting tips, Di, can speed up your machine, making your games go faster.
Cool. Cool.
You tried to do the double cool?
Yeah.
No. I'm going to edit that second one out. I'm going to save you that embarrassment.